Welcome to Include's Primetime Guest Series. I'm just going to leave us a couple of minutes to have all of our participants join us. Welcome.
Bienvenido a todos. Muchísimas gracias por nuestra serie de invitados, específicamente con lo que es la exención de Medicare y lo que es el autodirección dirigido.
All right. Great. Welcome to Include's Primetime Guest Series, Understanding the Difference Between Medicaid Waiver and Self-Direction. We will be offering Spanish interpretation for today's presentation. To listen to Spanish, please click Interpretation in your Zoom window, and then the language you would like to hear. You can also select Manage Language Interpretation and have the option to mute the original language. And I will start that. Perfect. Again, welcome to the front page news for the 2023-2024 school year, Include's fall series. My name is Katie, and Donna Maxon is our facilitator today, and we welcome her. But before we get started, please note that we are recording today's session. A little bit about Include NYC. For 4 decades, we have been helping young people with disabilities, their families, and professionals. We offer workshops, a helpline, a parent support group, and resources that can be found on our website, www.includenyc.org. We offer free one-on-one telephone assistance for those with individual questions. To speak to one of our educators, please call the Include NYC helpline, 212-677-4660. I will be dropping that information on our chat. Before we do get started, we just a few housekeeping tips. Whether you are an Include veteran or you're joining us for the first time, we're glad you're here and hope you'll participate. When you enter this room, your sound and video will be off. You can share your thoughts about the specific topic or technical issues in the chat box. If you have a question for today's presenter, please use our Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen. The educator and moderator will do their best to respond. Enjoy. Again, we will also have closed captioning available in multiple languages for this session. To access this closed captioning, please click on the Show Captions button in your Zoom webinar control. And then in the Translate to section, click on the language you would like the captions to be translated to. Now I am going to pass it off to Donna.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with Include New York City, a great organization that does great work. I understand we have a lot of parents here and people like me that have similar things that are important to them. And I'm always very honored and humbled to ask to speak to other parents because of all the things I am. I have some things on my slide here. I'm an independent self-direction support broker, and I've been doing this work about 10 years and worked with definitely well over 100 people doing this kind of work. I am a certified housing navigator. I help people develop and implement housing action plans to live independently in the community. I'm a plan network facilitator. I help people develop a strong circle of support, which is the key to having a sustainable plan for your future. But of all the things that I am, the most important thing that I am is a very proud parent, like many of you that are here today. So I'd like to just take a minute to introduce you to my family. To my left is my son Bradley, who is a corporate attorney for an international bank. And to my right is my husband Barry, who is my hero. And to my far right is my son Donald, who is a very special and talented person. Donald was diagnosed with autism at 23 months. And he actually has the waiver since the Medicaid waiver since he's 3 years old, and he's 31 now. So I have a lot of experience with the Medicaid waiver as a parent and as a professional. Donald, he really has taught me everything important that I know about life. I thought I was a weak person, but he has shown me that I am strong and brave and strong for him and for everyone else who is in my orbit. He's taught me to notice and appreciate even the little things, to celebrate every victory. He's definitely taught me what hard work and persistence is about, because nothing comes easy. He's an extremely hard worker. And he's introduced me to a wonderful community of people. And I consider everyone that is here tonight part of that community. Thank you for making time to be with me to talk about two topics that I am very passionate about: the Medicaid waiver and self-direction. So I thought I would let Donald introduce himself to you. Donald is considered a non-speaker, although I will tell you that he's made tremendous progress over the last couple of years with a system called Spelling to Communicate. First using a letterboard and now a keyboard. He has really been able to tell us so much that we didn't know, and what a gift to have this system. But he's always been interested in American Sign Language, and through his self-direction program, he takes a community class with an ASL interpreter, who is his teacher. And so I'm going to let Donald introduce himself.
Good job.
Donald takes many community classes through his self-direction program, American Sign Language. He takes art with a teaching artist, piano with a musician, personal training he takes twice a week, and he also takes a cooking class with a chef. He's in 2 bowling leagues. He has a very exciting and interesting life, and the lifeline is the Medicaid waiver and self-direction for us. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our journey, and give you some ideas about what I think is most important with the Medicaid waiver, self-direction, what it is, who is eligible, and steps to take if you're interested. Now, by the way, these are very big topics. I could probably fill a college semester, but I'm going to try to keep this to 45 to 50 minutes and allow time for some questions. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat, and I'll try to answer some questions at the end. I know Include New York City does work with mostly school-age children, and I do think this is really, really pertinent for this kind of crowd, because I do find that when I talk to parents of school-age children, many times they know a lot about school, very sophisticated about school, and I definitely think that that's very important. I myself, when my son was 3 years old, I had to open a school because there was no good school for him. And together with 7 other families, we co-founded the New York Child Learning Institute, which is located in College Point, Queens. And he went there for 19 years. And it was a wonderful experience for him. So I understand how important school is. But the Medicaid waiver is something that can work for you after school, on the weekends, during breaks, and it could help the person generalize things that they learned in school when they come home. So it's just a separate thing, and it is, you cannot use it at school. 2 rules about the Medicaid waiver: cannot be used at school or for health. It waives the family income. If someone's saying, oh, I can't have Medicaid, my family, we have too much income. It doesn't focus on that. It focuses on the child's disability. It uses federal and state funds, but it is facilitated by the state, by a state agency called Office for People with Developmental Disabilities, or OPWDD. If you go to opwdd.ny.gov, there is a lot of information to read, a wealth of information. Some things to know is that each county has a local office for OPWDD, which we call the DDRO. We love acronyms. DDRO, Developmental Disabilities Regional Office. The waiver that we're talking about is called the HCBS waiver, Home and Community-Based Services. It definitely should be person-centered and individualized, meaning that it should be meaningful. Whatever services and supports are delivered should be meaningful and important for what is important to that person. The services can be provided directly through OPWDD or through a nonprofit agency that's affiliated through OPWDD. From the website, I lifted these examples, just examples of the types of things that are available through the Medicaid waiver: habilitation services, respite care, service coordination, and adaptive technologies. So who is eligible? Well, this is for people that have a diagnosis of a developmental disability. Things like, and this is just a short list, autism, IDD, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome. There are certainly many other developmental disabilities that would qualify. There must be an onset prior to age 22. Sometimes it's something someone was born with. Other times it occurred, or the onset was in childhood or before age 22. You can apply after age 22. In fact, I have a man on my caseload right now. He's 54. He applied for the waiver when he was 50, and he was approved. He had to prove that the disability occurred when he was a child, and this was something that could be proven through a blood test and school records. But anyway, it has to be an onset prior to 22. If you're interested, there is something called the front door and the front door process, which has nothing to do with a door. But through this process, you will have to gain a lot of, or obtain a lot of reports: psychological report, medical and specialty reports, social developmental history, psychosocial report, and other information requested by the eligibility coordinator. So it is not a fast and easy process. Steps to take if you're interested in getting the Medicaid waiver, becoming eligible for the Medicaid waiver. Well, I gave you some links here, but the first step is to attend a front door info session on the site, the OPWDD site. If you search front door and you keep looking, it will give you the dates that they offer these sessions. They're 2-hour sessions. They do them remotely. They do them in some different languages, including Spanish. And you will learn a lot about what the steps are that you need to take. You do get connected through the front door with a CCO, another acronym, Care Coordination Organization. As I understand, this is a New York City organization, include New York City. I'm going to tell you about the 3 CCOs that work in New York City, or what we call Region 4, the downstate region, Tri-County, ACA, Advanced Care Alliance, and Care Design. And I am giving you phone numbers. So if you were interested, you could call, and you will be connected to one of these agencies to help you through this process. Help you get the evaluations. And again, if you're interested, this is not going to be fast. You have to be persistent, have patience, and follow up. Some people tell me it takes 6 months. Sometimes it could take a year. Once you are approved, let's assume we get approved. Woohoo! Then you get a care manager. It's like a caseworker assigned to your child's case. With one of the CCOs. They work for one of the CCOs. A big part of the care manager role is to author the life plan. It's a document. It's what we call the prescription for services. Anything that the person is going to want, or goals, safeguards, safety rules, everything has to be in the life plan. It's the guiding document. There's different sections. Section 1 is a narrative or an essay about the person. What's important for them? What's important to them? What's important for people to know about them? It should be accurate. And sometimes things change. So it's a living document. Nothing is set in stone. It can be amended. Section 2 has goals. What will we be working on with the support of the Medicaid waiver? Section 3, safety rules. What are the rules? Does the person know how to cross the street? Do you have to hold their hands? Could they evacuate on their own, or do they need help? Section 4 has Medicaid funded services. Section 5, state funded services and contacts, parents or grandparents, or if you have a self-direction, you would have a broker or a fiscal intermediary listed there. Your care manager name would be there, doctors, pharmacies, and this is reviewed twice per year. So once you're approved, you have a choice. Do you want traditional services, Medicaid waiver, traditional services, or do you want self-direction, Medicaid, which is also a Medicaid waiver service? It's part of the Medicaid waiver. So let's first talk about traditional services. What is that? What are we talking about? Well, with traditional services, and by the way, my son had traditional services from age 3 to age 21, and it worked fine. It was just fine for that period of time, 18 years. What did we do with the traditional services? We had agency staff, agency ComHab, community habilitation staff. And back then, it was pretty easy to get. Now it's a little difficult to get staff in general. But and he did go to a couple of respite programs, like a Saturday recreational program he went to, an after school program he went to. Over the years, we tried that. And those are the type of things that are available through the traditional waiver, site-based respite programs, like, as I'm describing, or sometimes the agencies run trips or they have camps. Respite staff that just keep the person safe and supervised, versus community habilitation staff, which are working on goals, those goals that were in Section 2 of the life plan. For adults, there are day-hab programs, supported employment and programs. These are all available through the traditional waiver. And housing, whether that be a certified setting, something more like something you would call a group home, or a community residence, supported apartment, or an independent housing. You can have independent housing with a traditional waiver, but those things are for adults. With the traditional waiver, you have an unlimited budget. I compare it to the American Express Gold Card. Unlimited spending, but you can only spend it for these agency programs. You can't take this traditional waiver and get that ASL class. That would only be available through self-direction. community classes. So that is what the traditional waiver is versus self-direction, also part of the Medicaid waiver, just a different way to receive these services. What is self-direction? Self-direction is an international movement for social reform. Give the focused person and their advocates control. And you know, when I started doing this work back in 2014, we had some visitors from Scotland, and I was able to be part of the meeting with them because they do self-direction in Scotland, and they came to talk to us. So it is very person-centered, what's important to that person, and looking for things that will help that person grow and develop in these ways. It is a Medicaid waiver service. The family has budget authority, which means that you control a certain budget amount. Let's say the amount is $50,000. You get to decide, I want to put $25,000 in staffing. I want to buy $10,000 worth of classes. You get to decide how to use that money. Employer authority means that, you know, the person and their circle get to decide who they want to hire. And, you know, you could have individualized staff. If you have, you know, let's say someone that likes to do sports, well, maybe you want to get someone to work with them that also likes to do sports. You get to recruit and select your staff. You get to decide how much you want to pay them within limits and guidelines. You know, there are limits and guidelines, but you have control of that. If the person deserves a raise, you know, that's an option too. So, but you have a limited and finite budget. I compare that to the debit card. Your debit card is loaded with 50,000 and that's it. By the way, you do have a fiscal intermediary agency with self-direction that helps to manage the money. As parents, we can't really, you know, it would be impossible to, you know, what am I going to do, right? The staff their paycheck, withhold taxes, that's not possible. No, there's an agency that works with us to handle the money. There is a larger variety of services and supports, you know, because you can get that ASL class or join the bowling league or the gym membership or the group cooking class with the chef. But really, to have self-direction, you do need a strong circle of support or personal network, because there is going to be a much higher level of involvement. Okay, so let's get into this a little further. Budget, the budget, the PRA, personal resource amount. I mentioned just an amount of 50,000. But it's different for each person, and it's based on DDP2 scores, Developmental Disabilities Profile 2 scores, which your care manager assesses. So it's related to the level of disability. Those that have higher disability will have higher scores, will have higher money. Those that have lower disability will have lower scores, and the funding will be lower. Self-direction is fair. It is a finite amount. Whatever your amount is, your PRA is a finite amount, and all waiver services must be included, including the you know, agency recreational program. You can buy agency programs through your budget. Everything gets included under that umbrella. It's an annual budget, and it's refreshed every year with new funding. It includes Medicaid funded items and state funded items. Certain items are only available through self-direction, and that's what I want to cover here. There's something called family reimbursed respite. It's limited to $3,000 per year. And this could be used if, let's say, your neighbor is going to babysit or just supervise, provide respite services, and supervise your child. They're not going to sign up to be staff, and you pay them. You paid them $50 to watch your child. That $50 could be refundable to you through family reimbursed respite. Or if you found someone you want to hire, but you want to try them out. So some families will pay people privately through family reimbursed respite, and then they'll get that money back up to $3,000 a year. IDGS, individualized goods and services, individualized directed goods and services. Examples, there's about 12 things here. I can't cover it all. We don't have time, but community classes like the classes I mentioned that my son takes, certain private camps, not agency camps. You can have up to 4,000 reimbursable for camp. Memberships to the bowling league, to the gym, to other things that give the person access to the community, because self-direction puts you in the community. Transportation, if the staff drives the child around to work on their goals in the community, there could be mileage reimbursements or Uber. And you could have up to 32,000 in that category. OTPS, other than personal services, only up to 3,000 in this category. Staff activity fees. If the staff takes the child to the movies, the plan can refund for the staff's ticket because the staff is there helping the child work on their goals if their goal was to be in the community. Clothing for adults only up to $250. Transportation for the person or their family, same type of thing, mileage reimbursements, cabs. Health and safety and independence. Sometimes a common thing used there is, let's say something like Angel Sense or a tracker for a child that might have wandering, so that the plan could pick up the monthly cost, just giving an idea, an example of what some people use. And support brokerage. So if you're going to have self-direction, you have to have a broker. By the way, I'm an independent broker. That means that I do not work for the state. I do not work for any agencies. I work for families that feel that I can help them, and that I feel, and that I agree that I also have to feel like I can help them, right? You know, not everyone is right for everything. You know, it has to be a good match. There are some agency brokers, but most brokers are independent brokers. And their maximum rate is $43.85. And that is part of self-direction to have a broker. So I was recently at a conference. They gave some interesting statistics. I'll just show you quickly. Where do people put the money generally? Well, these are statistics, from New York State. So 48% of all self-direction dollars are spent for ComHab staff. 20% in the IDGS category. Classes are very popular. 13% self-hired respite. That's staff, also staff that is hired, but they don't work on goals. Just keep the person safe and supervised. Direct provider purchase. That would be the agency respite program, or other agency programs that you're going to cover through your self-direction budget. OTPS 4%, family reimbursed respite. Housing subsidy only available for adults. Agency supported programs, and then we have some things here that aren't too popular. So here's a sample child budget. This child has the maximum allowable PRA, which is $65,725. That would be for the downstate region. And this really is a sample of someone on my caseload that giving you an idea of how they have their money organized. And most of it is in ComHab. The mom works, and it's very helpful to have staff to, help the person off the bus, to work on goals at home and in the community. They have a little bit of respite staff, brokerage, IDGS, family reimbursed respite, and OTPS. Just giving you, we have such limited time, so I'm just trying to give you some illustrations of what is done. But anyway, if you do have self-direction, you have a team. You have a team of people to help you, a circle of support. The focus person is at the center of that circle. And of course, their family and people who are important to that person. The family or the focus person is runs their own circle, so they can invite really anyone who they feel is important to be part of these meetings. The support broker, the fiscal intermediary agency that will help us manage the money, and a care manager. These are really critical people for the self-direction team. So anyway, self-direction does put you in the community. And when you're in the community, like Ellen, sometimes we dance. So I want to show you just a little clip of my son. One day he was out with his ComHab worker and they went to Dunkin' Donuts and they met a very nice barista. And we got a little clip of this interaction, which ended up going viral and really reaching millions of people. If you Google Donald Simon, dancing, Duncan, autism, you can see more about this. It was covered in the Huffington Post and all of those. But anyway, this is just an example of being in the community and finding someone special. And, this barista, Brian, a little Lady Gaga music. He figured out a way to communicate with my son who doesn't speak through music and dancing. And we made a friend that day. And a few months later, Donald, who takes art lessons and is a very talented artist, he had the Human Kindness Art Show, which was really named for Brian and his kindness. Oh, sorry. Okay. And we had it at the Staten Island Pride Center. And that evening, Donald sold $1,400 worth of art and donated all of the money to the Pride Center because he is certainly a kind philanthropist. And we were happy to be part of that. And Brian came to the art show too. So just a little happy story. So anyway, is self-direction for me? Well, first of all, do you have the Medicaid waiver? You cannot get self-direction until you get the Medicaid waiver. Then you have to get a care manager and the life plan. You have to want to be involved and have controlled. I am definitely the type of person I like to have control. So the self-direction, it was an easy transition for me. Remember me, the first, 18 years, I had the traditional waiver for my son, and the last 10 years I've had self-direction. But I do like being in charge of his services and helping schedule his day and for what's important to him. You do have to do some paperwork. You have to be able to, the electronic portals have made things so much easier. When I started doing this, it was a lot of paperwork with a pen. And it took a long time. The electronic portals have made it much simpler, but there is paperwork. And you do have to stay in charge of the budget. You can't exceed. You can never go over. So, and you do have to be in charge of the staff with self-direction. So those are some questions. It's not for everyone. I do think we have to have choices, steps to take. If you're interested to have self-direction, you already have the waiver. There is an OPWDD self-direction info session. Your care manager could get you those dates. You must attend. It's also remote. I think it's also 2 hours. They give you, an email confirming your attendance, and you need that. So That's one thing. You should tell your care manager because they have to put in for paperwork. So if you're interested in self-direction, that's another step here. Tell your care manager. And definitely you have to develop a team. Once you're going to move forward with this, you've got to hire a broker, get an agency, self-hired staff. You apply for a startup budget. That startup budget allows you to work with a broker to develop a person-centered proposal and budget to demonstrate how will I use this money and what am I going to use it for. Once approved, you'll have to implement and manage the plan, monitor expenditures, manage monthly paperwork, supervise the staff, meet with the team. It is a bit to do. It isn't rocket science, but you get better at this. If it's important for you and this is the right thing, you get better at this. And you develop a network, research new opportunities. This year we discovered that the New York Public Library has great events because they want the community to come in. Not many people are coming in for books anymore. And they have calendars and there's great things going on. My son made a fantastic fall, interesting craft this week at a New York Public Library program. That's an example of always researching, trying to find new things. There's a self-direction bowling league now and a bowling team that's part of a league on Staten Island that he belongs to. And you do revise the plan and the budget as needed. Nothing is set in stone. These are living documents. Anyway, over the last month, there has been some nice things, and I just thought I would share that. And I did ask this young man's mom if I can share this, and she was very proud that I would. And he's a freshman in high school, and he started taking singing lessons. And she posted on Facebook this little clip of him singing, and I'll just play just a little bit of it. And these are singing lessons with a musician in a studio, community classes funded through self-direction. And this is what he had to say.
So I face the final curtain, my friend. I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I live a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this. I did it my way.
All right, we're going to stop there, but I just love that the singing lessons, it does help with communication skills, and the way that he handles himself. We're just blown away and so excited for him. And this is through self-direction. Okay. And then I have an adult, my 54-year-old man. He originally, and I did ask him if I can share this that he posted on Facebook, and he told me I could use his name, but I wouldn't because we have HIPAA. We protect privacy. But I just thought this was so nice that this is just the last couple of weeks. He posted that, because he was living in Long Island with his mother, and when she passed away, he came to live on Staten Island, and he really didn't want to move to Staten Island, but he has a brother here. And he posted, I've been living here in Staten Island for 3 years today, October 22nd. And I also started working at Stop and Shop the same night I moved. And Staten Island made my life way better than Long Island. I don't think it was about Long Island, but I like to think it was about the services and supports and all the nice people that he met over the last 3 years. He has his own apartment, which is funded through self-direction. He has a paid neighbor, he has staff, and he does have a lot of friends. And I do think that having the waiver did help him have access to the community in these important ways. Just want to mention, I know that we don't have too many adults here, but adults have different budget types to choose from. And that has to, and it has to do is if you go to a day program, if you get supported employment, if you live in a certified setting, there are different things with adults. With children, the equation factors in that you're in school from 9 to 3. You don't need this as much. With an adult, once they graduate, this is usually what, if you need support, you're going to be looking towards the Medicaid waiver and self-direction. And the maximum in New York City, the downstate region, for an adult budget could be up to $164,000 a year. Certain things that are only available to adults is the housing subsidy or rent subsidy, utility reimbursement, internet, phone, technology, paid neighbor, live-in caregiver, household items and supports, a transition stipend. This is all only for adults, and clothing, just to give you an idea. So I think I'm doing good with time because I'm getting down to the end here. So my summary is that traditional and self-direction, traditional services, traditional Medicaid waiver, that's what people would normally talk about when they say Medicaid waiver. They're talking about traditional services. Well, they're both Medicaid waiver services, and there is a person-centered choice. You have a choice, and everyone is going to be different. Some people, traditional will be fine. Others will want self-direction. And they do call me, I have been called the mother of self-direction on Staten Island, where I live, because my son was one of the first people on Staten Island to have self-direction. It wasn't available in the downstate region until 2014, October 2014. Self-direction has been in New York State for close to 20 years, but it was a boutique program only available in Long Island and upstate New York. But I got it very early for my son because it really truly was the right thing for him to transition into. Traditional programs, traditional services, only agency programs, but unlimited spending. Self-direction, you can have agency programs, but you can also have other things. You do have budget authority, but the budget is limited by the PRA, the amount, the maximum budget amount as determined by the DDP2 assessment and the level of disability. You do have employer authority, which allows you to hire your own staff. You have to supervise and train them. You do have a co-employer relationship with that fiscal intermediary agency, which is a key part of this whole thing. And it does allow for much more community engagement. So before I take questions, I'll just say that, I have no motivation to be here. I have a very full caseload. I love doing this work. I'm so happy to communicate with other families and give people who I feel deserve this help, the help that I could offer. But I have a very full caseload. The only thing I'm here to do tonight is to talk to other parents who might have heard Medicaid waiver, self-direction sounds good. I don't know what it is, to tell you a little bit more about this. And if you feel your child is eligible, I do encourage you to go to the front door meeting and obtain eligibility. If you're interested in independent housing, my friend Marietta Austin and I, we co-facilitate the Downstate Independent Housing Forum. We meet about once a month and we talk about topics related to independent housing. You can email me or call me. I could add you to our list. I think, let's see, it's 6:45. Woohoo! I talked fast, but I got it all in there. So do we have any questions that I could answer?
Yes, you do, Donna, and thank you again so much for all of that information. I will begin to read the questions for you. So our first question is, can you do self-direction and transitional at the same time?
I'm not, oh, traditional. Maybe that means traditional. You know, you could
Okay.
have traditional services as part of self-direction. You know, we see that all the time, that the person is self-directing, but they also want to attend the agency respite program, or receive supported employment services. So yeah, you can have traditional services as part of your self-direction plan. Unless I'm not understanding what train, yeah, that's what I think.
Thank you. Our next question will be, can you get housing with self-direction?
Okay, I love that question because, you know, and maybe I'll shut this off, right? We don't have to look at this anymore. Did I stop? Stop share. Okay, there I am. So, you know, my specialty is to work with people who want to live independently in the community. I do feel that is very meaningful work to help someone get into their own apartment. I feel that that allows for the highest quality of life, maximum safety and dignity. And although not for everyone, but if you could do it, I like to see people do it. And the best way to do it is with self-direction. Not the only way. You can have a rent subsidy through OPWDD through the traditional waiver. And typically, when you have that, just like an agency provides the rent subsidy, they'll also give you like a bundle of ComHab hours. But what makes the housing plan work very well with self-direction better is the precious OTPS category. Only $3,000, but if you lived independently, your housing subsidy would be built into your budget. And then through OTPS, you could be reimbursed for things like utilities, internet, phone, costs related to being a tenant, you know, or having your own place. Also, the paid neighbor through IDGS. That's that's a great thing. So, and household supports through IDGS. Remember, IDGS and OTPS only through self-direction. So, if you needed a cleaning person, you know, to come, that could be reimbursed also through self-direction. So, I would say if someone wanted to live independently, then self-direction is the best way to do it.
Thank you, Donna. You have a lot more questions. I'm going to try to sift through them. Let's see. What is a reason for not being eligible for OPWDD?
Well, there's going to be a lot of reasons. You know, if you don't have a developmental disability, you're not going to be eligible. Yeah, I mean that's definitely a key. Um, I think there have been some changes recently, but the changes are not to eligibility. And I think everyone should, if they are eligible, they should go forward and gain eligibility. I mean, you know, that's it. If you have a developmental disability, you should go to the front door and find out more.
Thank you. Let's see. We have lots of questions, so so for self-direction, the most I can allocate is $3,000 per year.
No, you know, there's what I was trying to, because you know this is a very complicated thing, and I tried to get everything in quickly, but I'm trying to demonstrate that the categories there are a lot of guidelines and limits. It's not just, you know, oh, okay, I have 50,000, I could use it all for classes. No, there are different limits. So your PRA, your personal resource amount, is going to be the maximum budget amount you could spend for your fiscal year. But let's say for OTPS, that's limited to 3,000. Family reimbursed respite is limited to 3,000. IDGS is limited to 32,000. There are limits within that budget amount.
Thank you, Donna. The next question is, how concerned do we need to be about managed care, and will it dissolve SD or other client center services we fought so hard to get?
You know, I'm definitely not an expert in this topic. There are a lot of meetings to attend where you could learn more about managed care. It is something that we have heard talk about for many years. Originally, it was called disco. I love the sound of that, but I don't know what happened, and it became managed care, which I think is this pretty much the same thing. It has to do with care management. Originally, we talked about CCOs and care managers. They were called MSCs, Medicaid Service Coordinators, and they worked through these nonprofit agencies affiliated through OPWDD. It's evolved into this care coordination, and apparently, we understand it's on this track towards managed care. There seems to be a lot of parent groups that oppose this. It's not my specialty, so I'll just leave it at that.
Great. The next question is, how long does it usually take from the application to be approved for self-direction?
You know, that has a lot to do with, first of all, luck, you know, and second of all, because sometimes things could be stuck places that we have no control of. You know, oh, and sometimes it's seasonal. A lot of people are on vacation, and we don't really know why. But also, your broker, how quickly your broker works. Are you available to meet with your broker? You do need to come up with a complex proposal that is person-centered. And, so there's a lot of factors that can go into determining how long it takes to get self-direction. There's a lot of steps along the way too. First, you have to apply for that startup budget, and there's certain things that you need, certain paperwork that has to come through, and you got to go to that session, that OPWDD family info session. And then after you get the startup budget, you have to work on the proposal. So, you know, some people have gotten approved in as little as a few months, and others, you know, it could take a year. But I think that's too long. Let's go on to the next question. We don't have too much time.
Perfect. The next question is, can you get services from traditional and have managed long-term services as well? My son currently has APA through consumer-directed personal assistance services. Will that stop if he starts getting services through traditional?
Okay, I'm not 100% sure of this question, but I heard the Consumer Directed Personal Assistance Program, CDPAP. That's another acronym. So many people have CDPAP and Medicaid waiver, traditional or self-direction. You know, when you get approved for the Medicaid waiver, you normally get a Medicaid card that also gives you health benefits. That Medicaid card has two arms: Medicaid waiver, home and community-based services, and Medicaid health services. CDPAP is paid for through the Medicaid health services. So you can have both at the same time. You know, you can have both services. You can be approved for both services. You know, it is even possible to have some overlap, have two workers there at the same time, as long as there's no duplication of services, and it's okay with all the agencies too. But Yes, you can have CDPAP and Medicaid waiver. Is
Thank
there
you,
another
Donna.
question we can get to? Yeah, we have 5
Yes.
more minutes.
All right. I'll try to pick a couple more. So the next question is, can pre-vocational programs be funded through self-direction? For example, Project Search Program. If so, how does that work?
Project Search Program. That sounds so familiar to me, but I can't place that right now. But Prevoke is part of supported employment, and yes, well, you know, there's something called when we talk about employment, right? There's something called Access VR, which is an extension of the DOE, and that's usually the first place people go. Then there's all different types of supported employment that is covered by the waiver. And if you have self-direction, it would be covered through that self-direction funding stream.
Thank you, Donna. All right, so I'll pick maybe 2 or 3 more questions.
Okay.
So the next question is, what is the difference between Medicaid and HCBS waiver, or are they the same?
You know, there are a lot of different types of waivers, but I think what we're talking about tonight is the Medicaid HCBS waiver, home and community-based services waiver, but there are other waivers.
Thank you. And lastly, can you go to the self-direction session before Medicaid is approved? Also, how would you choose a broker? Is a list given for brokers and other programs that are available so that we know some options?
Okay, so I think there were a few questions there in one. So first of all, no, I wouldn't go to the self-direction session until I went to the front door session and got approved. You know, that would be the first step. Get approved. Go to the front door session, work with the CCO, gain eligibility, get your life plan, and then go to the self-direction session. Regarding a broker, there really should be a good match, right? Not everyone is everyone's cup of tea, you know, and there are a lot of brokers. Mostly they are independent brokers, but there are a lot of agency brokers too. Some agencies have a brokerage team. You can get a list through this whole process. You can't, well, a great way, by the way, is a reference. Perhaps your care manager works with many brokers and, you know, on various cases, and she may or he may have a good recommendation for you. Or maybe your friend has self-direction and they could recommend someone. You know, at some point you do want to interview them and find out, do they have time? How long do they think this could take? What agencies are they affiliated with? Because they will help you get a fiscal intermediary agency, and to get the feeling if you feel like it's, you know, it's a match. Is this gonna, are we the same type of people? You know, I'm a very, I guess, what is it called? Type A person, right? So I would probably be annoying to someone who is more lay back, you know. There's an intensity here that I want to get this done. So you have to feel comfortable with that person. By the way, a lot of parents are brokers. And you, by the way, you could be a parent broker for your own child if you're interested too. That's allowed.
Well, Donna, thank you so much for sharing your
my
wealth
pleasure.
of information. And there were a lot more questions, and unfortunately, we are at the end of our session. But for those questions that were gone unanswered, I will be dropping the helpline link to include. We also have some experts as well in our organization and can help with any other questions. But again, Donna, thank you so much. And we encourage you to please stay. We have our survey that'll help us be better educators and better serve you, the families and professionals. So again, thank you, Donna.
Thank you. So thank you for everyone for coming tonight. It's always fun to talk to other parents about these topics, which I hold very close to my heart.
And once you complete our survey, you may leave and enjoy the rest of your night.
Wow, there were a lot of questions here.
Yes, lots
Yeah.
of questions.
We could have probably done an hour in questions. Oh, for improving speech. Yeah, yeah. Yes, that's true. Well, I don't know if you wanted me to come back with some answers. You could, send me the list if you wanted to, if that would be helpful. Oh, thank you. This was a lot of fun. I include New York City. You rock.
And there was a question in regards to the recording. We were able to connect to Facebook Live. So if you go to Include NYC, our Facebook account, you can actually rewatch this session.
Okay. Do you put this on YouTube at some time?
That is a good question. We do have a YouTube account. But I'm unsure, but it'll definitely be on Facebook. Oh, and Carly did say, yes, we do put this on YouTube.
Okay, that would be great, because sometimes people ask for information. You could just tell them to watch this.
Yes.
Because it does answer a lot of questions. I hope I mean, was it clear? I felt like it's a lot of material, so I hope that it was clear, and I hope it helped even one person.
It definitely did, more than one person.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because we do have to stick together. Yes, we do. So, all right. So should I tune out?
Yes, and we actually have all of our participants completed our survey. So again, thank you so much, Donna, and for everyone who came. And have a wonderful night.
Thank you, you too. Happy season's greetings.
Yes.
All right. Bye.
Bye.